Greetings Internet, DDA here, and I'm feeling a little green today. Welcome to week 13 of my card of the week. Last week was Red Style, Red City Destruction. If you didn't get a chance to see that video, please click on the link. Last week when I said I heard your pleas Internet, my wife made fun of me, so I heard your faint murmurs Internet. So for this week for Saiyan Style, I chose Saiyan Rescue. And this card has an effect. You may only have one Saiyan Rescue attached. Power, attached to your MP. Rejuvenate 1. Constant effect. Once per turn as an action, choose a card in your discard pile and rejuvenate it. So for your offense, this card is really only doing one thing for you. It's giving you anger, which is not something to be overlooked. This card alone, in the turn that you play, is going to give you 2 anger in that combat, which is pretty solid. There are only a handful of cards that actually can give you 2 anger in Saiyan Style, and this card can be thrown in that category. Drawing this card early and playing it will net you lots of anger in the game. Each time you activate its constant effect, you're going to be gaining an anger. That means that the total anger that you can gain from this card can be in the upwards of 10 anger. After that point though, there's really nothing else offensively this card is going to do for you. Unlike Namekian, Saiyan Style doesn't really have cards that activate abilities when rejuvenated. Namekian is Saiyan's mirror style, much like how red and blue are styles that mirror and orange and black. So hopefully in set 3 we'll be able to see some Saiyan Style cards that activate when rejuvenated. This card just doesn't give you any damage. It's only going to be pushing your levels forward. So if you're already at level 4, this card's offensive ability is 0, besides just raising you to full if you hit 5 anger. Even further, if there's an effect on the field that's preventing you from gaining anger, literally the offensive ability of this card is 0. Did somebody say wall breaker? Wall breaker. So for these reasons, I'm going to give this card a 2.5 out of 5 for offense. That's the lowest score I've ever given a card for offense, or for any category really. And you know, I have to stay true to this card. It's not for offense. You don't play this card to be an aggressor. You play this card for control. This is a control card. And you know, the aggressive Saiyan decks are out there. We'll find use for this card, but it's not a needed add. Next up, for defense, you're going to find much more use in this card. It is rejuvenating a card, which means that you're going to be able to put cards back into your life deck to absorb damage. Just how many cards are you going to be putting back? Well, just like with anger, you can gain upwards of 10 anger in a single game. You can put up to 10 cards back into your life deck just by rejuvenating each combat. It really depends on how fast your game is going, and it also depends on how defensive your Saiyan deck is. The longer you stretch out the game, the more useful this card becomes. Just like when I talked about Namekian Style with rejuvenation, the main point of rejuvenation is putting cards back into your life deck that you want to draw. Even more so when you think about Saiyan Style, there aren't that many abilities that allow you to shuffle your deck. That means towards the end of the game, you're going to be drawing those cards that you've been putting back into your life deck the whole game with this card. This card may be the start of what we see as a rejuvenation Saiyan Style deck. Namekian has enough cards that it can rejuvenate almost as much as it pushes out damage. For Saiyan Style, that's not really true right now. But this card has the potential to put more cards in your life deck than any other Saiyan Style card. Another defensive element it gives you in combat is that you have this option to do in combat. So if your opponent plays a card that will disrupt you in the next phase in some way, such as an orange deck playing orange Palm Blast against you, a good counter to that is just to activate this ability. Other than that, if you just want to wait out your opponent and see what kind of cards he's going to be playing, you can just activate this ability early in combat and bait him out. The big downside with this card is drawing it late, it just kind of blows if you draw it late. You know, you're only going to be getting 2 cards off of its initial use. You're going to have to go through 3 or 4, even 5 combats really to see the true power of this card. If you draw it late game, it's not going to save you. I'm sorry. So for these reasons, I'm going to give this card a 4 out of 5 for defense. It's a solid effect that can really negate a lot of damage coming at you. You can rejuvenate up to 10 cards in a single game, as well as putting key cards back into your life deck that you want to draw. However, drawing it late game will not help you. There is a certain point where you cannot be rescued. And finally, for combo potential, this card is going to open up a wide window for Saiyan Style. It's really Saiyan Style's only consistent way it can manipulate the discard pile. The main way that this card is going to help you for combos is any card in Saiyan Style that tutors a card from your life deck and places it into play. This list is pretty short at the moment. 2 main Saiyan cards it was given in Heroes and Villains are Saiyan Body Blow and Saiyan Outrage. If there's a specific attached card that you want to tutor out with one of these cards and you don't have it in your life deck, it was discarded for damage early on. Use Saiyan Rescue, put that attached card back into your life deck before using the tutor. One of those tutors can actually get Saiyan Rescue. This card is going to be easy for you to make it hit the field and use its effects early on in the game. Goku level 1 is another tutor ability that can make use of this. If you play Saiyan drills, you're not going to really want to play that many of them to begin with. If your opponent gets lucky and snags your Saiyan protection drill, you can use Saiyan Rescue, rejuvenate it, then activate Goku's level 1 ability to place it into play. Saiyan Rescue takes a card that a lot of Saiyan decks play right now, Saiyan Power Up, and makes it 10 times better. Saiyan Power Up alone is a great card. It gives you stages, makes you stronger in the AT chart, gives you stages for energy attacks, absorbs damage. However, sometimes the bottom card of your discard pile falls short a little bit. It might be a block, it might be a setup that's unusable. With Saiyan Rescue on the field, you can actually choose one of the bottom 2 cards in your discard pile to draw with Saiyan Power Up, because you can just choose the bottom card and then rejuvenate it. Or if you have some foresight, you can think ahead, start rejuvenating those cards on the bottom of your discard pile to prepare yourself for a clutch Saiyan Power Up later in the game. A lot of decks are seeing a lot of attached cards, and Saiyan is no exception. Focus Assault allows Saiyan to utilize its attached cards to discard them to do extra damage. This will allow you to self-activate Focus Assault, as well as having it in your deck as an option to discard some of your opponent's attached cards as a counter. The big problem with this card is it's clunky. It's kind of weird to use in combat. Saiyan is all about building momentum against your opponent. It's all about attacking your opponent furiously, breaking through his defenses, breaking through his stages that allows you to push out tons of damage in that combat. This card kind of breaks your momentum. It takes a phase in combat. Well, I'm rejuvenating this card now. It gives your opponent some time in combat to respond. He may end combat on you. He may lower your anger. He may do an attack that stops you from doing some of your attacks, or making your attacks do less damage. Saiyan doesn't want to give your opponent any time. It wants to play every card in its hand without your opponent responding and pushing out the maximum damage it can. So for these reasons, I'm going to give this card a 3.5 out of 5 for combo potential. This card can help you push your combos alone just by putting your combo cards back into your life deck. It is any card after all. However, it kind of breaks Saiyan's momentum in combat, as well as if, your discard pile is limited. If you're playing a black deck, adding up the scores gives this card a total of 11 out of 15. We're starting to see a lot of Saiyan control cards. We got a few cards in the first set that were kind of control-y, and this card is the coup de grace of any control card that I can think of for Saiyan. Placing cards back into your life deck, gaining anger, how could you go wrong? I'm sure in future sets we're going to see Saiyan control developed on, and this card will be a key factor in that deck. So I hope you enjoyed week 13 of my Card of the Week segment. Next week is Freestyle, so if you have an idea of what Freestyle card I should review, please comment in the comment section below. Did he just say wall breaker? Please don't hesitate to hit that like button if you like this video, and as always, turn your dial to Random Number Gaming for weekly updates for the Dragon Ball Z card game.